Hi guys, welcome back to the garden. It is a very hot, humid, kind of one of those melt your face off days. We've had very unsettled weather here. It's been crazy, and I thought the sun's starting to go down a little bit. It's a great time to come into the garden and look around at everything. We've had a lot of rain. The garden is just growing crazy like we're in the tropical rainforest. And as you can see on some of my brassica leaves, my broccoli and cauliflower, the cabbage worms in a matter of like 2 days have really had a mess with all the holes here. So I've been out here trying to pick them off. So I think it's time. A lot of my broccoli and cauliflower is getting ready to be harvested, and I want to show you, I'm so excited. I grew the biggest cauliflower that I've ever grown. So I want to show it to you because we're going to use it in just a bit. Now, before I show you my world's biggest cauliflower head, I want to talk about the leaves. The leaves of the cauliflower are so awesome because they are loaded with calcium, and they're probably the highest in calcium of all the greens. Now, a lot of people throw out their greens, you know, if you talk about beets or you talk about your carrots, your broccoli and your cauliflower. Look at these leaves, they're huge, they're beautiful, and then when you go to eat them, they have a very crunchy, very mild taste. They're amazing, and I know so many people will throw them to the livestock or just compost them. These are amazing. You guys can saute them in butter. You can make you make kale chips. You can make them out of the broccoli leaves. You could do so much with them. Just eat them raw. Doug and I had them earlier today just in our salad. So do not throw these out, guys. They are loaded. They have more calcium than any other of your leaves, and if you're lactose intolerant, this is a great way to get your calcium. All right, so let's look at that big cauliflower. Well, it's pretty neat that you guys were with us when we harvested our first radishes, and I made a recipe, roasted radishes in the oven, which turned out really good, and I taught you guys how you could eat the greens. And so many people left comments saying that they didn't realize that they could eat the greens. So today, I'm going to show you that you're going to be able to eat fresh cauliflower all throughout the winter, no matter where you are, or even throughout the whole year, and I'm going to show you how you can do it. I'm so glad that we can come together and share these first harvests together. So are you ready to see my world's biggest cauliflower that I've ever grown? There it is. It's the biggest cauliflower that I've ever grown here. All right, now it's time to harvest it. So for some of you guys who have never done this before, you just kind of pull it and it comes right out just like this. And then the cool thing is, like I said, look at these leaves. So Doug and I are going to be eating on these for the next few days. I'm going to wash them up and then just put them in the ice box or down in the root cellar, and then we'll have them for some stir fries, or I can go ahead and saute them with breakfast tomorrow or have a salad. And then right now I'm going to show you how we're going to use this beautiful cauliflower head in a recipe. Now we're going to need some herbs to go with this recipe I'm going to show you. So I'm going to use fresh dill. Fresh dill smells heavenly and it makes everything taste amazing. Nothing like fresh dill. So I'm going to cut a couple of these to put in the recipe. It'll totally change what we're going to make. From tasting good to tasting awesome. Now I'm going to use another herb too. And the last herb I'm going to put in this is basil. Basil makes it better. So I'm going to get a little bit of the basil. And now I'm going to show you how we can keep this and we can enjoy it through winter time and for the next quite a few months eating fresh cauliflower. Let's go. Well, I went ahead and washed the leaves that we're going to save for later, and I washed the head of the cauliflower. Isn't it beautiful? I just love it. And historically, The method of preservation that everyone used to use was fermentation. And fermentation, it's called lacto-fermentation, and it's just a way of preserving, and you only need a few things: a little time, the vegetable that you're going to use, some salt, and some water. Simple, and it's so easy. You don't need any fancy equipment. You don't need a pressure canner. You don't need all this equipment. You just need a mason jar and whatever you get from the garden. So it's easy, and I'm all about easy here, and it's very simple. Even kids can do it. It's like a great science experiment you guys can do. So fermentation is our preferred ways of preserving our foods here, because it's a live food. Because when you cook it, you're gonna kill all the beneficial vitamins and enzymes and minerals and things from your food. And the cool thing when you do the fermentation process, it produces lactic acid, and the lactic acid is what helps to preserve it. And it's a bacteria that eats up the starches from the vegetables. Well, what happens with that during that fermentation process, it will enhance the enzymes and your vitamins, especially your B vitamins and vitamin K2. And K2 is really crucial in the absorption of vitamin D3. And so many people are low in D3. By adding fermented food with the K2 in it, it could help with the D3 being absorbed into the body. Now what we're going to do today is all you're going to need is some unrefined salt, and my preferred salt is Redmond real salt, so that's what I use, as well as some good filtered water. You don't want to use tap water, no chlorinated or fluoridated water whatsoever. You want good, pure, clean water. And you're going to need some mason jars. Now the thing with fermenting, and when you're doing it, sometimes you have a bigger head of cauliflower, sometimes you have a littler one, or whatever you're going to use. So I have a few different jars because I'm not quite sure how much this is going to make. And I also am going to add to this some carrots and some onions and some garlic, and as well as my two herbs that I chose, the basil and the dill. Let's get started. All you're going to need is your sterilized jars. I'm going to start with a half-gallon jar, like this. And the recipe calls for every quart you need 4 teaspoons of your unrefined salt. So this is 2 quarts, so I'm going to need 8 teaspoons of unrefined salt. So before I do that, I'm going to get my 8 teaspoons. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. And then I'm going to pour my filtered water in. Now here's the trick that a lot of people do. If you're going to make this much, I'm not going to need this much of my brine of the water. So I'm only going to do half of it. So I'm going to put 1 quart of water into it. Just like that. And now I want to make sure that the salt is dissolved in there really good, so I'm going to shake it up a bit. So then my brine will be ready. I'm going to take the cauliflower head. Let's see. Now I feel bad cutting my biggest cauliflower ever here, so I'm going to just cut it up in little chunks. It's a cauliflower party. Oh, look at it. You guys feel bad for me? But it's gonna taste good. Oh, they're beautiful. Oh, look at them. So now what I'm going to do is layer my jar. So I'm going to put the cauliflower in, and there's so many things you guys can do when you are making a ferment. That's the cool thing about it. There's nothing right, there's not a perfect recipe. You can ferment lots of different things, try what you like, but I'll tell you, what totally will make your ferments be off the charts is when you add fresh herbs. It totally changes the flavor. It is just the best. When I started adding lots of fresh herbs, it changed everything. People come over and like, those are the best ferments I've ever had. So then I'm gonna go ahead and put my onions and my carrots. And then here's the dill. So I'm going to put some dill in there. Now, this one I'm going to make a little spicy. How many of you guys like spice? I love spice. It just adds that little zing. So I'm going to add some red pepper flakes to it too. Just a little bit, not too much. So it's kind of cool as I layer this. It's sort of like permaculture. If you guys are homesteading, sort of like your lasagna gardening, or when you take care of your chickens. So it's pretty neat. Now I'm going to put a little garlic in it too. Some cloves of garlic that I chopped up. Put a little bit more dill. And the green, the colors all add a little coolness to it. All right, so layer cauliflower, onions, carrots. How about a little bit of pepper, red pepper flakes too? And some more garlic. Oh, I can't wait to taste this one. We're getting close. Now I'm going to use my pickle packer. It's an acacia wood, and it really helps to mash my ferments down. So I'm mashing it down so I can get the most amount of vegetables in there as I can. I'll do a little bit more. Cauliflower, onions, carrots, a little garlic, and some red pepper flakes. And finally, the dill. I'll pack it down just a bit. And the cool thing about this is you got the two sizes, one for the regular mouth and one for the wide mouth. I think I can put a little bit more in. What do you guys think? You want to make sure when you're doing this that you have about 1.5 inches headspace, and you guys know how to tell 1 inch or so. On your finger, every time you have like your little crease in your knuckle, that's 1 inch. That would be 2 inches. So all I do is I just use my little finger and I make sure I have about 1.5 inches space. So you don't want to go any farther than that. So we need that 1.5 inch headspace because as it ferments, you don't want it to overflow at the top, because as it goes on during the time of the fermentation process, it will produce more liquid. Now we want to make sure that our vegetables are under the brine. So I like to use the fermentation kit from Mason Tops. So this is my puck that I'm going to put on top, just like that. And that's going to make sure none of my vegetables come up, because what's going to protect it is when it's underneath the brine. So the cool thing about these pucks is they are made out of glass and they have a great handle on them that you're able to pick up when you're finished with them. Now when you pour the brine on top, you want to make sure that it's covering the vegetables, because that is what's protecting it. You don't want the air to get to the vegetables, because that's when, you know, it will get mold. So this way I have my brine over the top. Make sure you're leaving that 1.5 inches or so headspace. All right, so my liquid is right here. So I have plenty of headspace if it does produce a little bit more liquid. Now I want to address something. I get this question a lot. People are always like, am I going to get sick if I eat fermented food? No, you're not, because it is protected. This has been going on for hundreds and hundreds, thousands of years, and fermentation, and when you ferment your food, is very, very safe. Now, all you're going to do now is you're going to go ahead and put your fermentation top on the top. And the great thing about these is it has a little hole at the top. So what it'll do, it will let out the carbon dioxide, but it won't let any air inside of it during the process. The air is your enemy. So all you need to do is get your ring, just like that, and there it is. And the thing I like about this is I don't have to worry about burping it or anything. I can just leave it and then come back and get it in a week or two whenever it's finished. But I'm going to show you, if you guys don't have Mason Tops, what you can do. So remember these beautiful leaves? All you're going to do is get a nice piece of leaf, like so, and you're going to put it at the top, and you're going to be pushing the vegetables down under the brine, so you're protected with the green leaf, just like that. There you go. And then you're going to put the flat, like you normally get in your jar, and the ring. And you're going to need to put a plate underneath this, because what's going to happen during the process, it's going to build up the carbon dioxide. So you're going to need to burp it. So every day you're going to gently just turn it a little bit, and you'll hear the air come out. And as the days go on, maybe 4, 5, 6, 7 days, you're going to get a lot of buildup in there. So it's very important that you remember to burp it. So you just need to burp it like that. And after, I like to go 10 days, 14 days, you'll have a beautiful ferment. So generally that's really good. That's kind of like my sweet spot where I really enjoy the taste of the ferments. I like to go at least 10 or 14 days. Now it's really important when you are doing this that you do not take the lid off. You just want to burp it a little bit. You don't need to take it off. Remember, air is your enemy. Because the funny thing is when I first started fermenting, I found a rock. Actually, I sterilized it, and it was like the perfect size, sort of like the puck that I would use. And you could put that on top if you need to. So there's lots of ways, but my preferred way is doing the mason tops. That way I have so much to do around here, I can just set it and forget it, and I don't have to worry about burping it. Before you guys get out of here, I'm going to address a couple questions, because I get this a lot, because I don't want you guys to freak out. This is really, really easy. It's not rocket science. I know people get really freaked out when they do this, and you don't need to get freaked out. Sometimes when you are fermenting, you might get this white film on the top. It's kind of like a white waxy film, and a lot of people think it's, oh, it's mold, and they throw it out. It is not. It's called chyme yeast, K-A-H-M. It's okay. You can just kind of skim it off. It'll be fine. Don't worry about it. And the other thing is as it ferments, right now I have a clear liquid in the jar, but as it ferments, it's going to get cloudy. That's okay. Let me show you. See how this one here, it's a little cloudier? That means it's a good ferment. It's been fermenting good. So sometimes it'll get cloudy, and then it might go ahead and get clear again, but that's okay. You can do that. And this is my sauerkraut. That's good too. So don't be afraid to do this. It's something that is simple. You can do it with anything in your garden, and you are enhancing the nutritional value. It's great for your gut, because you know your health comes from your gut, because you're getting probiotics. It's going to aid in your digestion. It's just a good thing to add to your diet. So what you're going to do, now that it's done, I'm going to go put it in my pantry in a dark place. You don't want to put it in sunlight, and it's going to sit and it'll ferment for 10 to 14 days. Go ahead and taste it after that time. See if you like it. It's going to taste kind of sour, just like a pickle would, and you'll be amazed. You're not going to taste the salt anymore. The salt will dissipate. And then it will last in refrigeration. We'll keep it down in our root cellar, or you put it in your refrigerator many, many months. I always eat mine way before. I've had ferments last a year, 8 months, 6 months. Just go ahead and, you'll taste it, smell it, see how it is, and it'll be amazing. Another question that we get a lot is, how do you eat it? I know some people who have made their ferments and they're like, ooh, this is good, and they eat the whole jar. It is a fermented food, and it does aid in digestion. So if you eat too much, you might get very gassy and bloaty. You only need a little bit. It's very powerful. You're going to get a lot out of this. That's why when you make this, you can have a tablespoon or two with your meal, and that's all you need. Sometimes I'll put this in our salad and mix it all together. Sometimes we eat it as a side. Sometimes I'll put it with a sandwich. It just depends. So you don't need to eat a whole lot, because you're going to get a lot of bang for your buck. So now, look at what you're eating every day. Doug and I, when we have our meals, I try to have some type of live food with every meal. So we'll have a ferment with our meal. Maybe when I have cooked eggs, I'll go ahead and add some of a ferment with it, or kombucha or something live with every meal. You don't want to always eat all cooked foods, because you don't want to eat food that has been denatured and all the nutrients are out of it. So this way, we're adding a live food to our diet every day. The sun is going down. I have one more ferment to do. I'm going to do probably another quart. I have enough for a quart. And I showed you guys how you can have vegetables from the garden all year long, no matter where you are. I'm just curious, have you guys ever fermented before? And if you have, leave a comment below on what was the first thing you guys fermented. Have a great day, and I will see you guys later. Bye.